administration, I can tell you, is a word that has changed shape over the years, and I'm really grateful for that. When you think about admin, I don't know, some of you are like, think about detail, paperwork. I don't know what you think of. It just, if someone says no admin, you get all like scared. But let me just give you a bit of a background to who I am, and then maybe something of my approach makes sense. So I won't tell you my age, I'll let you guess it. And then my wife and I have been part of Cornerstone for a number of years, since 1999. And we came out of a space, out of a Baptist space, and we really had, like God stirring our hearts. Kim's in the room at the moment, but if she could have it her way, she'd be a missionary in China. She's a bit like Justine, if I've read Mark earlier this morning. She's a mountain climber. She loves a project. She loves tackling the big stuff. She is not afraid of anything. And so we're part of Cornerstone Church. We led a life group. We lived in Alberton for a number of years, and we've lived up here for just over a decade. And in that process, at some point, my wife, who could see more for Cornerstone Church than I could, she's like, we just need to get involved. How do we get involved? What do we do? And then the day happened, and Marcus invited us for supper. And we thought, oh, cool, we're going to have supper with Marcus. And then he said, hey, Glenn, we want to invite you onto our eldership team, you and your wife, Kim, and we'd like you to do the admin of the church. I don't know, that just explains everything, right? Just do the admin. So I'm like, I'm excited, but I don't know what you're asking me. What does admin mean? Like, what does it mean? Am I your PA? Do I book flights? I don't know. What does admin mean? No, just the admin, just like, well, the truth is admin is, let me just quickly see, are there any business owners in the room? Business owners, like you run your own business. Okay, cool. So you'll know that any organization has got many departments, whether you're a one-man band or not. And these departments all require you to put a different hat on. And this week we've got the pastor's hat on. Earlier, we started this week actually with the evangelist hat on. And the challenge is you all need to be evangelists. And in the next session, you all need to be pastors. And the next session, you all need to be apostolic. You all need to be building a base church. You can almost feel the pressure building. And then the admin guy stands up and says, well, you've forgotten all the detail. It's like, sure. So Marcus says, okay, would you come onto our eldership team? That was back in 2011 we started. And we were the first, called specialists that were invited onto team. And it's been spoken about already this week. The previous approach to getting involved in church, within NCMI, we're not a church planting movement, okay? We plant churches, people start God's call on their lives. But if God is going to get us involved in these kinds of things, well, then let's get you exposed. Let's get you involved in the kids ministry. Let's get you to handle the finances. Let's get you to organize an event. But if that's not your thing, bro, you are going to mess kids ministry up. Those kids are going to go home crying. And finances, if spreadsheets is not your thing, and I don't know how they can't be, but if it's not, you're just going to hate your life. You're going to be, administration, like I said, the wrap around administration has changed over the years. Because admin is seen as those guys that hold it tight. Minutes about every meeting. Who left the window open yesterday? Who didn't put the alarm on last night? That's what admin does. Now, I come from a corporate background. I was a project manager in a couple of spaces. Myself and Kim landed up, she's the clever one. She has the degree. But we landed up working at a software company in the supply chain space. So we were optimizing inventory for warehouses. That was our specialty. And there you get to play with data. And it's just data. And I landed up getting retrenched from that space. And so then I landed up getting a job at Barloworld Equipment, Caterpillar. And it was one of those moments where I'm like, and it's a long time ago now, because it was, the birth of my child was in September, our firstborn, and I had nowhere to go in January. And in October, I got the phone call from Barlow Equipment. You were involved in being a consultant. Would you switch over this third-party tool that you installed, because we know you know it, to this SAP, the SAP APO, Advanced Planning Optimization Tool? I'm like, yes, I'll do that. I walk in there the first day, and my letter of appointment took about 3 weeks to get to me. For some reason, I get it says sales and distribution. I'm like, I did not sign up for this. Like, God, but you opened this door for me. Now what now? And that moment lasted for a year and a half. A year and a half later, I knew why God put me in that department, that little section. I'm like, shish, God, you are pretty clever. You know how to figure things out. Stuff I learned in that year and a half set me up for success within the team, within problem solving, and all those bits and pieces. And then Marcus said, would you do the admin? So that training ground, bringing me into here, I'm like, okay, well, what do you mean, Marcus? He says, yeah, just the people stuff, bit of the finances. And so here's the hats that you've got. You've got a financial hat. So depending on whose letterhead I'm signing, I'm financial director. Or I'm just the administration elder. And so when it comes to finances, finances are driven by the leadership of the church. Some church finances are audited. And they're held, and it's because you've got lots of money to pay for an audit, but they're held very, very tightly. And it's driven by the leader, right? So if the leader is very accounting-like, he'd want to have the balance sheet and the income statement thrown at him every single week if he could, because he wants to see how, he wants to know the budgets. If you want to use a swear word around Marcus, it's the word budgets. Okay, finance. Then you've got HR. Okay, so we've been on team for a few years now. I think it's going on 13. We've been on for 12. And we have over 50 staff, and we have 10 sites or 10 branches. And so staff are wonderful. They're a bit like the people in your church, your sheep. They always do what they need to do. They always arrive at work on time. Everyone's performing at their peak. You never have any issues because we're a team, man. We work at a church. We've got God's call on our life. Wait, but they're not elders. They're staff. Okay. I've believed that staff have a calling on their life too. It's not eldership, but they have a calling on them. If they wanted to make money, they'd be working somewhere else, right? But then with staff, there's medical aid, and then there's provident fund and tax and pay slips and who needs leave and who doesn't get leave and who's forgot to fill in a leave form, elders. And how do you handle all of that stuff? And then you've got operations. So the run-of-the-mill stuff. I don't care how big our church is, fairly big until you go visit places like Rama and maybe Maranatha. And you sit down in an admin meeting, and it's like a potpourri of people. You got 2 people from this department, the 1 person from that, and how do you, because you got social media, great. You got design, graphic design, because everyone needs to advertise something. You got the ladies in the kitchen, and they make us look good. You know, like my wife makes me look good. Those ladies make us look good. You've got the catering. You've got the ground staff. You know, otherwise, this wouldn't look like it does. You've got the lady that answers the phone. You've got the lady that takes care of Marcus's travels and all the details. It's just, there's so many, it's like a mixed bag of stuff. And it gets very disheartening when you're sitting in a room of your admin team and everyone's Facebooking because this doesn't apply to them. But something at Barlow World blew my mind. I was in an open plan office and I hated it. I hated it other than for Fridays because my leader there was a bit like Marcus, was a bit naughty. Fridays were terrible days because he would pie somebody in the face or we'd be chucking stress balls across the room. It was chaos. But in the space of that noise, project, debating, finding, I would hear something and I'd be like, wait, you're struggling with the same issue that I'm struggling with. I can help you. I saw that. I fixed that. I caused that problem. Let me help you fix that. And in a space like this, administration needs that dynamic. And so not only on eldership, but in the staff of your team, that relationship needs to be strong. Coming from a corporate, and if you've worked in a corporate, you'll appreciate this, standard operating procedures, rules and policies, and just comes out of your ears. My key performance indicator handbook was an A3 book with 20 pages on it, and it was just like everyone is scared that we're fearful of being caught out, that you didn't say the mantra on Friday afternoon at 1:30. It's just, it's overbearing. They're driving profit. Their currency is profit. Our currency in church, it's not profits. It's people. It's relationships. And so people on your team, you've got to have good relationships with them too. Because if you don't, then you're just doing them because, when we speak about eldership, we speak about a function, right? Not a position. So functional leadership's cool, but then you become the admin guy. And I'm in charge of admin. Now you do what I say because I'm the director of administration. It's not going to work. Our currency is not profit. We don't blind copy or carbon copy everybody to cover your back in case, like I'll send Marcus I'll just CC him on every single email just so that if something comes up, but I told you. David didn't greet me this morning type thing. That whole idea of getting the team to work is, these relationships, Grant mentioned it earlier this week, that dynamic of the team. It's kind of like dog eat dog in many spaces when it comes to the corporates. Everyone's wheeling and dealing, whining and dining just so they can get the next promotion because that's what you do. I mean, that's what Hollywood TV shows us, right? But in a team that is small, like a basketball team, everyone's a generalist, well, mostly. You're all running around the pitch, okay? But then, I thought we were big until we hosted World Equip. You guys maybe wouldn't know about that, but we have LTTs, or then it moved to Equips, and we moved from Bloemfontein, and big audacious plan of Tyrans was to have a World Equip, and we were going to have 10,000 people there. So we can't fit 10,000 people here or in City Hill, and so we hired out Raymer North, and we walk in there, and that venue is just, it's next level. They have 300 volunteers back then before COVID, because things have changed for them now, that arrive at 6 o'clock in the morning for the 9 o'clock meeting. We got 300 people in your church. But that administration, that's a machine. So something's got to, it can't be the same. And so for us to come onto team as the specialist was the very first time that Cornerstone had said, well, let's get someone to address this thing and hold it together. And you'll know, if you've been in leadership for a few years, the momentum that comes with a leader is very helpful. If the church is changing leadership every 2 years, you're never really sure when. I mean, the guys have spoken a lot this week about transition and that gray space between transitions. So having someone that pulls that cart is going to be really, really helpful. And so I forget the number because we were getting old Josh to. But there's many people on the gridiron team. And like you said, the guy that does the kicking, he just comes up and does the kicking and then he walks off again, right? But that's his job. He gets on, he kicks it. If he messes it up, he doesn't have a job next weekend. But you can get specialists, but those specialists are very much part of the team still. If they're not part of the team, well, it's a bit like the best thing that Marcus did for me. Because if you're servant-hearted and you land up in a space, you would sit anywhere. Just, I'm here to help. Just put me anywhere. But I got appointed as an elder in this church. And I'll explain now why that makes sense. But for me to be appointed as an elder means that when we speak directional stuff, as an elder, I can speak to an elder at his eye level. The role I played was senior at Barloworld, but that wasn't my expectation here. This is a new space. If I come in as a not senior, well, that's fine. But the fact that we can speak to governmental issues equally helps. And so if you're going to pick up this task of addressing the admin within the team, well, those speciality skills are helpful to have on the team. I'm really happy to have found the word admin in my Bible. And only if you read the ESV, by the way, will you find it in the genealogy of Jesus. It's written there, like halfway down, you see son of son admin. And I'm like, sheesh, God, thank you. That's like really cool. And then you see it's listed in 1 Corinthians 12. And it's like, gosh, man, God has appointed in the church first apostles, second prophets. I know the list is a bit long, but we keep going. Teachers, and then miracles and gifts of healing, helping, and administration. Like, sheesh, there we are. I know it's towards the end of the list, but we're in the list. The gift of administration. So like, it's a bit of a weird thing sometimes when you're a guy, and people are like, you're the admin dude. I'm like, yeah, my wife likes detail more than I do, but there is a grace for it. There's a gifting, and I understand that there's this gifting now. And the idea of administrating makes sense at an eldership level because, and I'm not going to even try to pronounce the word, but the root understanding of administrating comes from that. It's a nautical term, right? So that guy on the ship that helps that pilot. So he's leading, he's directing, he's governing. So you know that in Acts 6, they appointed, and we later on, and we understand that they might have been called deacons, but they appointed people to help the elders so that the elders were released from this noise that was being created by people who weren't getting food. So what? They could focus on preaching of the word and prayer. And that's great. So how do you, Glenn, fit on eldership? Because how does that work? Well, if you're not governing, if you're not leading, then administrating a machine like church is going to cause you problems. If you are a lead guy or a lead couple and you don't like admin, let me help you quickly define admin. You all have got admin. Everything you can dislike it as much as you like. It's like dishes. You're just not getting rid of it. It's going to have to be done. I promise you, if you're going to organize a braai at your house and you just say, hey, yeah, guys, pull in. Vision's there, the TV's on, maybe you've organized popcorn, nobody pitch. Maybe they all pitch because, hey, when the lead guy with the vision says, come to my party, you're there. But then there's no parking, there's no suites, there's no biltong. The sound system he's got for the TV is a bit yucky. You can't hear it at the back of the room. Something's off about the arrangements. The party sucks a little bit. And not that everything needs to be super organized and like to the T, you've got the best sound system. But if the vision gets lost with organizing, then that vision loses impetus. It loses its effectiveness. I promise you, as a lead elder, if you say, let's do church, you are not thinking mediocre. You're not thinking, yeah, we'll just pull in on a Sunday, sing. I got into trouble at the Baptist church for this. I exalt thee 17 times, because that's the only song you can sing. And then you're like, yeah, it was great, man. Yeah, great ministry. You know, it went nowhere. The preach was half-baked. Not that you must put on a show, but it was all messy. Easily, at that point, you're going to run into some form of frustration. And you're going to lose hope that this is not worth it. This is going nowhere. It's stifling you. You can't chase the detail. And that's true. Maybe you're not wired that way. Maybe you're not wired that way. It came up this week earlier about Strength Finder. And Marcus particularly is not a person who likes to put people in iron boxes about this is who you are. But in Strength Finder, there's this opportunity to understand what your leaning is. Now, let's just say, because I'm the admin guy, you say, but he's a great admin guy. He leans heavily towards administration. Does that mean I don't get into pastor? Of course it does. No, it doesn't. I still need to love the people that God's called to be part of this local church. If I don't love the people, but I'm a great administrator, I am of no help. And let me put it out there, admin does not lead this church and should not lead any church. Because if you administrate this church to where it needs to go, you are going to kill yourself and all the people along with you. If you've got a vision, if the visionary's got a vision, and then you just administrate the people, you tick boxes, and everyone's done this course, and then tick, 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 okay, you've done it, okay, next level, please. But their hearts stay behind. I don't know if that's helpful. Admin, like every other ministry in the church, is there as a framework to support that which needs to be done. I would often refer to myself and Kim as, we're just the piece of paper that people put stuff on. Our job is to find a way to get it done. And when you've got these gifts working well together, then you're able to govern the ship, you're able to direct the ship, you're able to provide vision at an eldership level around these details, and you're able to work well together as a church. God is organized but he doesn't administrate the church. So for the first year and a half or 2 years of being on eldership in this church, Kim and I would often leave an elders meeting confused. Because Marcus would always be like, we're not administrating this. Some comment somewhere, and we're not going to administrate these guys, right? We're not just going to administrate our people. I'm like, he just appointed me. Does he hate admin? And then I realized something that God taught me at Bala World. Like, if that leader has got something to say to you, he is big enough and ugly enough to come and talk to you directly. He's not just going to throw it out there, hope you get it in an elders meeting. So I'm like, okay, maybe he means something different. So yes, I'm a slow learner. But actually what he's saying is even the pastors, you can't just run a tick box or just push your people into little spaces to be like, they've look how much they've achieved, but their hearts are left behind. They've left their family behind, or forbid their marriage broke because they were there every single night of the week because that's what you expected. God doesn't administrate the church, but he is very organized. So good organization and good administration helps prevent chaos. It helps prevent confusion. That's really helpful. You know where to go, you know when to be there, you know what to bring. It does also prevent the fact that anything goes. Just picture for a second your Sunday meeting. Now, I don't have a lot of exposure to One Life Church, but the little bit that I do have, they all have a run sheet. Okay? And Grant Crawford and the one equip I saw, he's very particular about how that run sheet fits together. And that's cool. There's the vision. Now we apply it. But everybody on the team, including the guys at the back, running the sound desk and the musos, they have an idea of when they were going to be called upon. But if that changes, we can't have some hissy fit about you broken ranker, you went against the run sheet. Because if it changes, what happens if Marcus stands up on stage and be like, boys, we're going to preach first. You guys can sit. Like, this church. You can't do that. It's like, well, if things change, things change. But it is helpful to have a framework that you know that you can pin something on. In Tony's church, as it sounds, very simple. You get cheese and biscuits every Sunday, but you know what you're getting. If there's no administration, you might just find that your team doesn't honor the plans that you had in place. Can you imagine? And I know that we talk a lot about Africa time, and it is a cultural thing that we'll end up fighting. But if you say, hey guys, and you can call on any leader, we're going to meet together tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Cool, let's meet. But then the leader doesn't pitch until 9:45. He set the time, but he's not there. Or what happens more frequently is you set the time. You're like, hey guys, let's pull in. We're going to make it 45 minutes. We're just going to talk about one or two things. Let's get together. Then half the people forget. Other people have got some excuses. They haven't told you. The meeting starts at 9:45 anyway. Then you just accept, you know what? I know that my advert says 9 o'clock we're going to start our Sunday meeting, but we'll wait because people only arrive at 9:30. And you heard some opinions this week about how you address the people that have actually arrived in the room. How do you manage that? How do you treat those people? If you don't have a calendar, who's got a paper calendar? I did speak to someone this week. Hey, Mike. Mike's got a paper calendar. Okay, yeah. Kim's going to talk about systems tomorrow, and in amongst that, she'll mention something about calendars. But if you're not going to honor the plan, wherever that plan might be, then you're not going to know, hey, there's an elders meeting tomorrow morning. In my world, and we have lost a whole lot of people to the world, to those little gold stars at the back. And so our eldership is only 21 couples at the moment. And 7 of us are on church paid. So they're the easy guys. You see most of them at coffee in the morning or in the passage. You say, hey, Rodney, don't forget. But the other boys are marketplace guys, and the noise in their head is, it's noisy. How do I get through that noise to tell them, hey, sorry, excuse me, by the way, this Sunday we were meeting, but we're not meeting at 3, we're now meeting at 5. How do I manage to do that? Well, I sent everybody an email. Okay, cool. So, who here has email as their primary, and I mean primary, your primary method of communication is email? Okay? Your primary method of communication from one person to another is WhatsApp. Okay? Okay, so WhatsApp's big in our country. Your primary communication to one another is a DM on social media somewhere. If you're older, if you're over 40, then it's Facebook, you know. What I'm trying to lean into is that there's a primary method of communication. For me, if you WhatsApp me, that means you want something now. Please don't, I mean, it happens and I kind of have to swallow. I try to train people, but it doesn't really work. Like, don't send me your leave dates for next June on Saturday afternoon at 3 on a WhatsApp. Okay, it was him. And he should know better. Because it's a DM, right? It's a direct message. WhatsApp says, I'm messaging you that. If someone sends me a message or an email, then I'll be like, okay, cool, when I get to it, I get to it. But if you send me a direct message, that means that you want me to answer now. The manager they had at Barlow World Equipment was strange. He never answered his phone when I phoned him. He never answered text messages, and he hardly ever answered the emails I sent him. And I had to go to the kitchen very often, because down the passage was his office. And if I saw his door open, and I knock on the door, he's like, yeah, no, come, sit. He wouldn't deny me a moment if I asked to sit with him. And then I could talk through all the bits that I could talk through. The primary method of communication is key. Now, I have to say that because with everything we've said this week, between you and your spouse, between you and your elders, between you and your people, if you can't find that channel, communication is going to get you into trouble. It's the big C word. It's going to get you into trouble. With Marcus, he might answer his phone, just for all of those who try to phone him. He'll never answer email. He probably will always answer a text message, whether it's on WhatsApp or whatever. Because he'll get to it when he gets to it. I don't know how he gets to it because I see that it's red and I'm thinking he'll never remember to answer me. But he does. I don't know if he remarks it as unread or what he does, but he always answers me. For Marcus, I had to find his method of communication. What's your method of communication? And if you're working with people that are managing your admin, why don't you share that with them? Because otherwise it's just this guessing game. Wow, how do you get through to Kaya? You know? Because he never really gets me. He never answers me. He always expects stuff from me, but he's never... Just tell them this is what works for me. So for me to tell my guys, hey, if you want my attention and you send me a DM or a WhatsApp, I'll do my best to answer you right away. If it's for later, a contract or some sort of leave or thinking or discussion, let's put on email. I'll get to it when I get to it. I promise. If you don't have adequate paper trails administratively, then you may land up in a space where you're in trouble. Now here's where things get sticky, because not all of us like paper, but some people love it. And they duplicate everything. I know we're in a paperless society, but we duplicate everything. We don't believe in digital signatures because the printer's right next door. We just print everything. But when the Mr. Taxman comes along, and we went through a stage, remember we were all in high-low just before COVID. The CRL was doing their thing. They even grabbed some of our guys within the NCMI circles and pulled them in and questioned them about their gender on team and their color on team and checked out their constitution. Like, well, what do? Do you have all that stuff in play? Do you have a church constitution? Do you submit tax returns? No, but we're a PBO. We're a public benefit organization. Yeah. And Kim will touch on some of that tomorrow, but we all need to submit tax returns. Derek is going to a church, and he's saying that church has got such a good standing with the government because it's all different with different countries. I think it's golden something or other, 10 years in or 30 years in. This church is now that old that the government says you don't have to submit tax returns anymore. But in our country, they need to decide whether or not you don't have to pay any tax. But we have to work with those things. It's just important. The benefits of good administration. If we take each other for granted, we're not going to get the vision done. Because what happens is you've got this, I don't know, what are your big community events throughout the year? Easter? Christmas carols maybe? You grab something, you have, I don't know, Christmas in June or something, Christmas in winter. You grab a moment, you're looking for those. And as a visionary, as the lead guy, you come up with this great idea. You're like, you've seen it on Insta, and you're like, guys, we've got to do this. And you just chuck it out to the elders meeting, or you pop into the admin meeting, you say, hey guys, I want this for carols, right? And off you go. As a lead guy, you've done your bit. I've imparted vision. Now my team will just get it done. Or even worse, your wife is handling the admin and now she's just got to guess. She got a half a word in the car or over coffee or over breakfast, and now she's like, well, I'm sure this is what he means. Then comes the day. And the visionary looks at this thing and says, you are not doing that this weekend. Like, but this is what you asked for. Communication was broken somewhere. You felt you communicated well, but you don't believe in a feedback loop. Kim and I are very different when it comes to looking for feedback loops. Kim should have been British. Because if you ask her to do something, she'll do it. You don't ask her again if she's done it, because that's offensive. For me, I don't mind asking you if you've done it. Have you done it? How's it going? I get really frustrated when I don't get any feedback. I'm like, bro, I asked you yesterday. What have you done with the chairs? Like, what's wrong with the Wi-Fi? You didn't tell me. I don't mind asking, but for others, it's like, but I asked him. And they'll get to it. And you know that not all people operate like that. You have to ask them that they get, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. Good administration helps people plan their time effectively. It is not cool if you double book your time. It's not great. You say to the guys, Sunday morning is chaos. They come and see you at the front and be like, hey, I'm really struggling. Can I talk to you about an issue? Yeah, sure. Pull in on Saturday. On Tuesday morning, we'll have breakfast together. But you already have an appointment for Tuesday morning. So who's not going to see you on Tuesday morning? You gave your heart and you said, hey, I'm doing it. But you don't have a system in place. Your communication is broken. Your heart's in the right place, but the detail's not being managed. Kim will tell more of you this tomorrow, but you need to find a way to write it down. Find a way to communicate it. You have to have a process to prevent those issues. If you have good administration, you'll find that it frees you up for the apostolic. Now, we've spoken a lot about the apostolic, and within NCMI circles, it's a bit of a homegrown word, but it just means to be sent. You know, if you don't have to worry about home base as a lead guy, you know, your team's got it. Then it's free. But if you're trying to manage operations, you know, even just talking to Marcus when he's not in town, you can only ask one question at a time. And then you're like, got to live with the time delay if he's in, I don't know, some other part of the world. And you send a message and then you wait. Like a little rabbit. You wait. Then you get one answer back and you're like, that wasn't quite the answer. You have the same one. Because if you send him two questions in one, you're only getting one answer back. That was aside to the idea that good admin has set him free. He, as a guy who's out there doing his thing, he's free to do the apostolic call. If I just backtrack to something, does that stop me from being apostolic? Because I'm just operations guy, right? I just organize all your parties, and off you go on your apostolic days, and you just. It can't be like that, right? If my heart's in the wrong place, then I'm very, very quickly going to get frustrated with life, because it's not our makeup. How I get energy is because I get my eyes out there. And how do I keep my eyes out there? Somehow I get involved. I have the privilege of having good relationships with the sites, getting involved with the sites, seeing what's happening in the south. Just recently, Kim spent a month at our new site, Balfour, just getting into these guys' fixing up systems. Be like, no, you don't have to order coffee yourself. We'll get that for you, You see what's happening. You see people's faces. You see lives changed. It's just, your vision gets lifted from the papers. It's very, very helpful. Your administration does need to be flexible. If you are an admin type person, tell me if you love this. Everything is organized. And Marcus comes in and be like, okay, no, we're not doing that. I wanted 1,000 cupcakes. That's what I wanted. I'm like, but it's Saturday. And if you've ever been a life group and you've ever got the phone call on Saturday night from your elder who oversees the life group, be like, by the way, you're on hosting tomorrow morning. Just make sure your life group's there. It's killer. So here's some tips for our lead guys. If you get bogged down by too many details, you need to find someone that can help. If you find that someone that can help, you need to make sure that they're the right type of person. One that understands your heart. They're not your slave, they're on team with you, right? And so if you find their communication channel, you'll get your stuff done. But often, an admin guy is not the same personality as a visionary guy. So someone's got to make the adjustments. And the visionary guys, if you've had that color chart, are very red most of the time. They'll push over a wall. They just want the bottom line. But the guy that you're handing the work to is not often that way because they accommodate people. And so as the lead guy, if you've got somebody next to you, you have to honor that space. They don't lead the church, remember, you do as a lead guy, but you have to honor their communication channel. Between Marcus and myself, I've got this little method that there are specific times that there will be a list of things to talk to him about. If I want to drain him, I don't tell him what the list looks like. And I just like one more. Then the life just drains out of him. But if I send him the list and say, hey, Marcus, here's some issues. There's 15 issues, some finance, some staff, then he knows what's coming. It is amazing. He'll see me in the morning for coffee, be like, come, let's do half an hour quick. Half an hour, tops, we're done. I've got all my notes and I'm running off and I'm playing my own little tune. It's amazing. If you want something done, you need to be clear about what your expectations are. The tricky bit is if you as a lead guy are administrative and you can't keep your dirty fingers off it, then you want to empower, but you're not. That makes things really, really sticky. If you are that way inclined, find a feedback loop. Just find some sort of feedback. If you're not involved with your admin, then you're very, very quickly going to become disconnected. Like that joke about organizing some community involvement event. You put it out there, but then you're not involved. Then there's a disconnect. It's the same with your elders. If you've got more than one or two elders on team, but you never talk to them, and then you're like, oh, where are these guys going? Why are we not teaching the same stuff? Why are we not on the same? Because you've broken the communication. It's important that we speak the same language, that our heart is the same. And all of this is just admin. You can't run away from it. You have to pick it up for yourselves. You've got to find a way to have fun. You've got to find a way to keep it relational. As an admin guy, okay, I don't want you to put your hand up, but Kim and I run to meetings, elders meetings. We used to have it in the toddler's room, 8:30, 8:20, we watch the coffee. Okay, Marcus is making his way there. We run there, laptops out. Okay, ready. And then we don't touch any admin. Because then we want to pray and we want to worship. Suddenly realize, well, this is what it's all about. This is a fellowship. It's fine. Grab a coffee. But we're here because God's called us. And before we touch anything, let's make sure that we hear God. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Okay, I get it. But it's a weird space because in the corporate world, everything is, the emotional overhead in church is much higher than the admin overhead that's in corporate. It's just what it is. When you step this side of the glass wall, this is what we're dealing with. So this tension for the administrator is real. Because you want them to get stuff done, and then you get upset because they're all bogged down with details. The tension's not going to go away. We have to work at it together with each other. If you don't honor your finances administratively, you're not going to have the freedom to do what you are called to do. But the other way around is if you have a problem with spending, well, maybe that's not a bad thing. So I have a problem with spending, Kim doesn't have a problem with spending. But she's not a spendthrift. But if you are a spendthrift and you're just like saying yes to everything and you're not taking the church's finances into account, you're like, yeah, but the Lord will provide. But it's not a faith step. It's just a brush off. Disaster will strike soon. And that's not a fun place to be. So you've got to honor these little processes, work with the team, find a way to talk to the admin guys. Often and if you're a small church, often the lead guy is managing that admin. And it is not just a straight line between who does what. It's very much a puzzle piece between what you've fixed and sorted, and they do this and they do this. And you've got to appreciate that you have to talk to each of those guys differently because they're not all the same you. The same message, different communication channels. We're going to have lunch. Because now it's 12:30. I trust that you will have a space, that you will have the capacity and grace to just have people come around you. The number of volunteers in churches is dropping. COVID has not been good to us. People have taken the gap. They're not involved. But God has called us, we need to speak vision into ourselves, into the people that God's called us to, because there's much to be done.